So, this is like a Hollywood blockbuster rescue, where Fanny and her sister finally escape from their mother with the help of the authorities. However, this story is far off. Their mother began sending creepy updates and death photos, forcing them to move like they were fleeing a bad horror script, completely severing ties. Of course, the uncle kept hold of those photos, but his stance was as rigid and unyielding as could be, meaning that Fanny could only seek further help, guided by her aunt. With her aunt's navigation serving as a guide, Fanny eventually found the precious letters her grandmother had once sent. It even had her grandmother's current address, and without a second thought, Fanny hit the road, only to be baffled by the sight that greeted her. Grandma was living alone in a deep dark. The desolation isolated the world's chaos, with buildings seeming built for a zombie apocalypse. When Grandma saw Fanny for the first time, it was as if she'd seen a ghost, with the reaction straight out of a horror movie. Her gaze made Fanny feel as if she was invisible. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. At that moment, Fanny felt as awkward as a cat in a dog park, wanting to break the silence, but Grandma's gaze kept her glued to the spot. Fanny felt completely in the air, while Grandma was adamant about keeping her quiet. The creaky door opening made matters worse, and as Fanny hesitated, Grandma stopped her in her tracks again. Grandma demanded Fanny to stay put and began talking to herself, making the scene feel like an old live stream. With Grandma's barely noticeable permission, Fanny finally mustered up her courage and, at the risk of being frightened by Grandma's intimidating expression, began to confide in her about the dream that had troubled her for so long. Grandma shot back that it wasn't just a dream. It was a deadly preview of events she witnessed in a patio diner 40 years ago. Amazingly, everything matched her dream. As her boyfriend was about to propose, Fanny suddenly blurted, "Everyone is going to die." Then she rushed over to her little boy and snatched the coin from his hand, before charging back into the diner to put out the flames with a nail-biter. In the end, she decisively snatched the microphone and heroically saved the disaster-prone guests who were supposed to be having fun at the observation tower. The tower was permanently closed and eventually demolished. However, that was just the beginning, as Death doesn't like interruptions in his agenda. Over the years, survivors kept dropping like flies, including her husband. But Grandma learned how to read Death's appearance like a pro. Unfortunately, Grandma couldn't save Fanny, who ended up with cancer and was down to her last 2 months. While they talked, Grandma absent-mindedly knocked over a lamp, pulling the string that was holding a file pot. Then she handed Fanny the collected notes from over the years, hoping she'd stick around to study these mysterious documents. Grandma had lived here for 20 years, wanting to pass on her findings to Fanny, claiming this was the safest spot. But Fanny couldn't wrap her head around these ridiculous claims, questioning her grandmother's sanity. Just as Fanny was about to leave, Grandma got up excitedly. She knew her time was short, and if she passed, Death would come for her family. Her footsteps paused at the door, sensing that once she stepped out, Death would pounce. Yet for the sake of her family, she handed the thick stack of papers to Fanny, saying, "This is crucial. This book is your lifeline, revealing everything you need to know to protect our family. Don't you believe me yet?" "Well, I'm starting to believe you a little bit now," Fanny replied. After Grandma died, doubts lingered in Fanny's mind, but a warning bell sounded. "I must protect my family." As the funeral unfolded, family members gathered, even her mother who had passed 10 years ago. Fanny, who had lost her mother's care, chose to leave upon seeing her, feeling a nagging unease. Finally, she dove into Grandma's notes as family members, reunited, decided to throw a party. Suddenly, a glass tumbled down from above, abruptly shattering the originally joyful celebratory mood. The shattered glass fell right into an ice-filled container, mixing shards with the ice cubes poured into the drink cups. When the drinks were filled, everyone cheered, but more surprises were in store. Cousin Julie suddenly started coughing violently. "Is it diabetes?" The crowd buzzed in shock. "Are you okay?" "Oh my gosh, there's a tiny little bee here." Fanny then flipped through Grandma's notes, and the first page revealed records of impending disaster. The following pages listed various ways Grandma had foreseen death, and oddly enough, they matched the items used at the party. "Mom, the grilled fish is ready." Fanny felt it was time to go, jumping in the car to race back to the family gathering. As she drove, she tried calling her uncle but got no answer. The party was still in full swing and no one noticed the danger lurking closer. The kids on the bouncy castle were having a blast, while tiny cracks began to form beneath it. Fanny's mom, Darlene, sensed something was off and stopped them, bending down to pull out a nail from underneath the bed. Little did she know that action was part of Death's cunning trap. Just then, an aunt knocked over a bottle, hitting the air pump switch. The air pump went haywire, and the expanding tube hit the recently placed nail. The sequence of events had everyone gasping in disbelief. The once joyous family gathering quickly turned into a funeral scene. At that moment, Fanny fully believed Grandma's warning and dove into the notes. She gathered all the family members to share how Grandma prevented disasters and how Death tracked down the survivors one by one. With nearly 100 survivors, Death took years to send them all off, leaving only Grandma and one little boy standing. Fanny deduced that Death would come by family age order, and next in line was her uncle's elder son, Eric. Fanny confirmed again that Death would strike according to age, and the target was still Eric.